Shalom, Israel. Glad to be here tonight. We have a good lesson for you. We're going to be wrapping up Jacob's trouble, and the focus tonight is on deliverance. We have gone through and talked about Jacob's trouble. We're going to go back and do a little reviewing as far as what Jacob's trouble is, but at the same time, we're going to talk about Christ tonight. The scripture says it's not by power nor by might, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. So everything that happens, even if you go into Psalms 51, verses 1 through 13, basically the prophet, the King David is asking that new spirit be renewed, that the right spirit be renewed in him. And after that is done, then he's going to go out and teach others, and they shall be converted. So, we have to keep that in mind. We don't go out here and do these things on our own. We don't take credit for it. It's the Most High God that does it. So, that being said, we're going to start off in Jeremiah chapter 30. So, we're going to share our screen. I hope all of y'all are doing well this evening. I think we have a good class lined up for you. And we're going to even get into talking about the mark of the beast as far as buying and selling and showing you what that is tonight. So hold on. I think we're going to show you a perspective that you have not seen before. So let's go to Jeremiah 30 real quick. Okay. And we're going to start off in verse 5. I hope y'all can hear me. All right. Let's start off in 30 and 5. And we're going to read down to verse 7. Verse 30 and 5, right here, I have it highlighted. For thus saith the Lord, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. You see this? Trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Verse 6, ask ye now, and see whether a man doth travail with child. So does a man actually deliver children? The answer is no. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail? So the men are in such fear that they have their hands on their loins like a woman who's delivering. And all faces are turned into paleness. So this is the amount of fear that has come upon the people of God, upon Israel, upon Jacob, okay? Verse 7, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Let's read this again. Alas, for that day is great. What day is it talking about? It's talking about the day where people are trembling of fear and not of peace. Okay? So that none is like it. Nothing like this had ever been seen before. It is even the time of the Israelites' trouble. But he, who is he, the Israelites, shall be saved out of it. All right? So what I want you to see there is, yes, we're going to go through, but we're going to be saved. And we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to show some of that salvation. Okay? So let's go now. We want to further this point. Let's go to Mark chapter 13, verse 8. And we're going to look at some of this travail and see what Christ said about travail and see what travail actually is, okay? We're going to look at trouble. All right, so it starts off like this, and this is really not the start of what Christ is saying. Let's look at verse 1 real quick. It says, and as he went out of the temple, one of his disciples saith unto him, Master, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here. Look at this exclamation mark. The disciple is excited to point out the beauty of the temple. It says, and Jesus answering said unto him, seest thou these great buildings? There shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Now let's jump to verse 8 so you know where we're at. So that right there is talking about 70 AD. We've proven that in previous episodes. And if you go into the description of this particular lesson, I think this is part 8. It takes you back to part 6, but you will be inside of the playlist that has all of these episodes, and you can go back to the very first one and come forward, okay? Verse 8, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes in divers or different places, and there shall be famines and troubles. Remember, we talked about Jacob's trouble? These are the beginning of sorrows. Okay, I want you to look at something here on this word sorrows, okay? Because when we looked at Jeremiah chapter 30, it was talking about a woman in travail, or she was giving birth. So let's go over here to our tools. Let's scroll down, find the word sorrows real quick. Mm, Kingdom, diverse places. You had troubles. We may look that up. But right now we're going to focus on sorrows, okay? The beginning of sorrows. And it's G5604. And that troubles just means a disturbance or a sedition. Whenever a nation is overthrown, it's called sedition, okay? All right, so let's go down. I am not sharing my screen, am I? Yes, I am. Think I am. Yes, I am. Okay. Let's go down. Let's let you hear how this word is pronounced in the Greek.
Strong's G 5604, Odin. Odin.
So it's pronounced Odin, okay? We're going to go down, and it says sorrows is the pain of childbirth, travail. Same thing we saw in Jacob's trouble in Jeremiah 30. You see what I'm saying? Birth pains. All right? So we're going to go back and we're going to read it with that understanding. And even if you go down in the Strongs, it says the same thing. But look right here. I want you to see this. Equivalent to intolerable anguish. Remember, it said there will be no days like these. All right. So let's back up if we can. So it says in verse 8, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes in different places, and there shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginning of birth pains. Okay? Keep that in mind because we had read that before. Now let's jump down to verse 19. This is just review before we get into the crux of what we're talking about tonight. Verse 19, for in those days shall be affliction, such as was not from the beginning of the creation. Isn't that the same thing we saw in Jeremiah? Which God created unto this time, neither shall be. So Christ started talking about the buildings being destroyed, and he says these are the beginning of sorrows or birth pains. And he said this time is like a time that was not like from the beginning of creation and never shall be. So then we have to figure out when does this time end, right? Because some people read this and say, okay, 70 AD was the completion of this. No, that's not where it completed. We had to see what Christ said, okay? Let's go down to verse 26 and 27. It says in 26, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. So this is not going to be hidden. The Son of Man, who is Christ, is going to be coming in the clouds. And it's going to be with great power and glory. Glory saying everyone's going to see him. It's going to be magnificent. Verse 27. And then shall he being Christ, send his angels and shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the uttermost part of the earth to the uttermost part of heaven. Let me read that again. And then shall he send his angels and shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the uttermost part of the earth to the uttermost part of heaven. That is the end of Jacob's trouble. If we haven't reached that, Jacob's trouble is not over. And I just wanted to reiterate that because we started off saying that in the beginning. Then we went through to show you who was going to bring this persecution upon us in subsequent episodes. But I want to get back to the beginning and show you how this comes to an end and when it comes to an end. All right. Let's see, we have Jay and Lo out there, Shalom. We have Christina out there, Shalom, Shalom. Good to see y'all. All right, so let's keep going. Let's go to Revelation 13. I'm going to show you a part of Jacob's trouble here tonight. I'm going to go in verse 6, I think. And so you're going to see something that I don't think that you've ever equivocated, if that is a word, to Jacob's trouble. Is that where we want to go? 17, 16. Going down to verse 16. All right, so here goes. Revelation 13 and 16. It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand. So your right hand is something you do work with. It talks about the Most High delivering us out of Egypt with a mighty right hand. Okay, so this is talking about your actions, right? Or in their foreheads. This is talking about your thoughts. So let's read that again. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. So he's talking about what you do and what you think and believe. Okay. Verse 17 is where I want to get. It says, and that no man might buy or sell, save that he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Now we're going to go back to school for a minute. If we look at verse 16, it ends with a colon. Okay. So what follows has to actually refer back to the subject of verse 16. And so the subject is mark. Okay. And that no man might buy or sell, save that he had the mark. Okay, now mark here, we told you up above, we're talking about actions as well as thought processes. But this mark here, I'm going to tell you, is something totally different. In the sense that I want you to think back, when John the Revelator wrote this, we were still now on land. And there were currencies, and those currencies bore our kings, our prophets on them, okay? And our coins were printed in gold. Shouldn't say printed. They were made of gold. And so every coin's value would be based on how much gold was used to make that coin. So they actually weighed these coins on scales. Okay. Now, what does that have to do with this? I'm about to show you. So we're going to come back to this verse in just a second, but I'm going to show you what a mark is, okay? And we're going to support it by history as well as scripture. So let's go right here. Let me stop sharing my screen. I'm telling you, this is Jacob's trouble. And when I explain to you what a mark is, you will understand why it's Jacob's trouble. All right, all right. So we're going to share screen again, and we're going to mark. All right, so here we go. Look at what it says at the top here. It says mark currency. So a mark can be currency, and I'm going to show you why. It says the mark was a currency or unit of account in many states. Now, when it says states here, it's talking about countries. It is named for the mark unit of weight. See that right up there? It says the mark is originally a medieval weight or mass unit. So we're talking about the time period when Revelation would have been written, right? Which supplanted the pound weight as a precious metals and coinage weight in parts of Europe. In the 11th century, the mark is traditionally divided into 8 ounces or 16 lots. The Cologne mark corresponded to about 234 grams, which is not important. This is what I want you to see. A mark is a unit of weight related to gold. Okay? It says the word mark comes from a merging of 3 Germanic words. Now remember, Germany was one of the 10 horns that made up Rome, the Roman Empire. Latinized in 19th century post-classical Latin as marca, marcha, It was a measure of weight mainly for gold and silver. That's what I want you to get. So now let's go back to Revelation. Let me get out of this. All right, we're going to get you right back, right back. Okay, so what John is talking about when he gets down in verse 17 is actually currency. And that no man might buy or sell, right? We're talking about currency. Save that he had the mark. What mark? The mark of the beast, the currency of the beast, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So now we get into spiritual things after we talk about the currency, or you have to be like we used to, many of us called ourselves Greek. That's what it means, or the name of the beast. You have to say you're Roman, you're Greek, you're American, or the number of his name. That's more spiritual. I'm not going to get into that tonight, okay? But when you see the commas, these are lists, these are different things. This is not saying you have to have all three. It says or. You see what I'm saying? So right now, we have the US dollar, and that's what we use to purchase with. And that dollar is valued around the world. When I went to Germany, they had what was called the Deutsche Mark. That's before the euro came in. I went over to Germany 3 different times. And these people would practically die to get a dollar. They value the dollar over everything. See, the dollar used to be backed by gold, and there was a president, President Nixon, that took the good dollar off a gold standard. So, what makes a dollar important now is people's desire for it. If you if no one wanted to take the dollar, it has no value. It's just paper. But what people value is George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Benjamin Franklin. You see what I'm saying? And they believe that this currency is going to be supported by the US government. So wherever you take this currency, it spends. And so some people will say, well, if it's the mark of the beast that matters, what about countries like Nigeria? Look it up. When Nigeria made their first currency, it was based on the English pound. England, one of the 10 horns, part of the Roman Empire. You see what I'm saying? There is no country that does not accept the US dollar. There's money from other nations that you cannot spend here. See, when we talk about mark, it's also a place of perfection that we look to get to. And so if you're going to purchase anything around the world, the perfect currency is the US dollar. You wake up every morning, they tell you how much gold is valued to the dollar, how much silver, an ounce of silver is compared to the dollar. They tell you how many barrels of oil you get per dollar. Everything is related to the dollar. Because we're in the technology age, you have other currencies that will be there also. But every nation has US dollars in their central banks. Every nation. Okay? And so that's how they back their currencies because the other currencies are not considered to be something of value. I was over in Saudi Arabia. I was over in the Middle East during the first Gulf War. And so that's when Saddam Hussein was about to be overthrown. I got I I purchased some of his currency because I was like, well, if he gets defeated, maybe this will be valuable at some date. And I still got it somewhere and it has no value. Once he was defeated, that currency is no good. We change presidents all the time, and the US dollar still has value. That's just a little side note just to show you. But so I want to show you that this is actually a curse in that we don't have our own land, we don't have our own king, we don't have our own currency, we don't have our own military. And so that was hard for people to understand when John came out with this prophecy, or I should say, when the Most High gave him this prophecy. Now we look back on it and it's been fulfilled. And the reason I brought that out is people are waiting for certain things to happen before they say the end is coming. And I'm saying, what is there left to happen? Everything's happened. Everything, when you realize who the Israelites are and who the beast is, it's all happened. Let's keep going. I mean, we're using the beast currency. Let's go to Matthew 22, because I told you I'm going to prove some of this by scripture as well. Let's look at now. Revelation's written after Christ is gone and dead. Let's see what was said when Christ was still living. It's not what I wanted. All right, all right, all right. Matthew 22, and let's go to verse number 19. Let's go to verse number 19. Now, this had to deal with taxes. And we're not going to back all the way up. We're going right into 19, right here, where it's highlighted. And this is Christ speaking. He says, show me the tribute money. He's talking about money. Show me the tribute money. And they brought unto him a penny. So it's not the same as our penny with Abe Lincoln on it, but I picked this verse because you will understand the language, okay? Verse 20. And he saith unto them, whose is the image and the superscription? You see that? So you're going to have a image and you're going to have a signature carved in. Okay? I want you to get that now. Christ asked, whose is the image and the superscription? Because we just talked about the mark, and we're going to go back and look at what it says. We're going right back to Revelation, and we're going to look that up, okay? And then it goes on, 21 says, they say unto him, Caesar's. Whose image and superscription? The King of Rome, Caesar. You see that? Now let's go back to Revelation real quick, because I wanted you to see that image and superscription. And what was that? Revelation 13 and 17, right? Was that right? Revelation 13 and 17? Yeah, that's right. Let me see. All right, all right. So this is what I want to do. I want to look up the word mark. Let's do this. Let's go to tools. Let's look up the word mark real quick. All right, so 5480 is where we're at. And the word is charagma. Watch this.
Strong's G 5480. Charagma. Charagma.
I pronounced it the best I could. Now watch this. So it says, where do we want to start at? Let's go down. Let's go down. Right here. Outline of biblical usage. It says a stamp, an imprinted mark. All right. So think about a coin. If you have a coin, you have an image stamped on it. And then it says an imprinted mark. Think about this. I'm not going to talk about today. I'm going to back up. Let's say we were in colonial days. Let's say a man could not sign his name. What did they have him do? They said, put a mark right here. And he would sign an X. So on a coin, you will have a stamp. The king's image was stamped on that coin. And then you also have his signature, or someone would sign it under there as if it was his signature. That's an imprinted mark. All right. So don't get caught up in what 16 said, verse 16, and then you can't understand 17. Okay. See, the church has made Revelation seem so spooky that simple things we don't understand. So you'll see stuff in the scriptures saying, talking about fiery darts and things like that. And sometimes they're talking about missiles, but we can't see that. You'll see in scriptures where it talks about chariots being in the sky and the wheels turning and fire coming out of it and smoke coming out of it. And we can't see that as a vehicle. But just think about it, put it in today's terms. If you saw a jet taking off, what's it have? It has wheels. What's coming out the back? Smoke. You see what I'm saying? These things are easily understood if you will put them into the non-spooky and go back to just practicality. All right, so let's go now to Deuteronomy 28. We're going to talk more about the curses, okay? What did I just do? See if I can back out of here. So, charagma, the best I can anyway. We're going to Deuteronomy 28, and I want to show you something. Now, you may have seen the thumbnail, and we had a lion on the left side, and on the right side, we had an eagle falling down to the ground. And this class is about the Lion of Judah, who is Christ, defeating the eagle of Esau or Edom or Rome, America. You know the bird of America, the royal bird of America is the eagle. Rome carried an eagle for its standard. Greece, their god was Zeus. And Zeus had an eagle that would go out and look around the world and come back and report to him. He could see through the eagle's eyes. Rome had Odin, who is Zeus by another name. See, Rome had the same gods, but they changed the names. Okay? The 10 horns, they all have the eagle in their royal crest. So we're going to show you some stuff about the eagle tonight in scripture. And where I want to start at in Deuteronomy is verse 45 and 46. All right, verse 45. Here it goes right here. It says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee. These curses are going to actually pursue us. And do they catch us? The next verse says, the next three words say, and overtake thee. Look at that. They're going to pursue you, they being the curses, and overtake you till thou be destroyed. Well, destroyed, if we're destroyed totally, that means we'd be non-existent. What it's talking about is the glory that we had as a ruling nation. We would not have it anymore. We would be a defeated people. We would not have our own land. We would not have our own king. We would not have our own military. We would not have our own currency. The scriptures right here in Deuteronomy talks about how we would have to go to our enemy for everything. We have to go to them for water. We have to go to them for clothing. We have to go to them for housing. We have to go to them and get a marriage certificate, a death certificate. You can't even die without the enemy. Let's keep reading. Birth certificate. It says, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. Now look, the church tells you that you don't have to keep the commandments. Get out of those churches. That's why we went into captivity. You are learning from your enemy. You say, but my pastor's black. Your pastor went to seminary school. Yeah, he went right there to the cemetery school where all the dead are. And he's bringing that message to you. I don't care how good of a person you think he is. He's lost. And most of them are deceptive. They know the truth. Verse 46. And they being the curses, shall be upon thee for a sign. A sign is a depiction of what's there. When you pull up the McDonald's, there's a sign out there that says McDonald's. Burger King says Burger King. If you go to the grocery store, the name of that grocery store is out there. So you know what you're getting into. You know what's there. And so the curse is going to be upon us for a sign and for a wonder, and upon our seed forever. Our seed is our children. So the same thing that our forefathers went through, our children go through, which means we went through it too and are going through it today. Let's keep reading. Let's go to verse 30. Let's back up. Let me show you something about these curses. It says, thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. What happens? Your wife can cheat on you. When? At the time when you're engaged to her. It says you're going to betrothal the wife. Before you even marry her, if you were going to wait, another man lays with her. That's a curse. It says, thou shalt build an house and thou shalt not dwell therein. Why? Because you get married, your wife leaves, you should take it to your house. But you want to relate all this back into slavery. And I'm asking you, if your forefather was a slave, what house did he own? We got to relate this to today. This is when we're living. Thou shalt plant a vineyard and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Let's keep reading. Let's go to verse number 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fill with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. This is not slavery. That is not what this verse is talking about. I'm going to prove it to you in a second. This has to deal with your wife leaving you and taking your children. This has to deal with defects. The Department of Family and Children's Services come to your house and taking your children. And you can't get them back. And you're going back before somebody else asking for your children. And they're telling you how to discipline your children. This is the curse that you're under today. Watch this. Watch this. Let's go to verse 41. Now, I told you this is talking about today. Let's look at verse 41. I'm going to show you something. Verse 41 says, thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. You see that? Now, this one is talking about slavery. This is talking about the Atlantic slave trade. This is talking about the Arab slave trade. This is talking about the Asian slave trade. This is talking about us being slaves all over the world. Why? Because if we go back to verse 45 and 46, we did not hearken unto the Lord our God and keep his statutes and commandments. And the church is still telling you not to do it. And you're still having problems to this day because we have churches on every corner in our neighborhood. Why are they there? To destroy us. That's a curse. I'm going to show you. We're going to talk about those churches in a minute. Let's go now to verse 37. Let's back up. And thou shalt become an astonishment, not in a good way, a proverb and a byword. What's a proverb? They say, if you want to hide something from a nigger, put it in a book. What are they saying? They're laughing at us because we had a book that told our history. The book told us our current state, and it prophesied about our future, and we never knew what it said. They took from us the ability to read the language that they had translated the book into, and they took from us the ability to speak the language that is natural to us. And then they took verses out of the book and gave us what they call the slave Bible. I was supposed to show that to y'all tonight. I'm not going to worry about it though, but look up the slave Bible. It's out there. This is what they did. This is a curse. And they have the book. They know that we are the people, and they hid it from us and they laughed about it. That's what they mean by a proverb, right? So let's keep reading. Let's look at some more of this. Let's look at 37 still. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword. What is a byword? It means that you're not known by your natural name. So the Lord called you an Israelite. What did they call you? African American. What did they call you? Nigger. What did they call you? Negro. What did they call you? Colored. What do they call you? Indian. You see what I'm saying? Mexican, Dominican, Jamaican. That's not you. You're Israelite. You're Jacob. You're Judah. You're Issachar. You see what I'm saying? Reuben, Gad, Asher, Joseph, Manasseh, Ephraim. Let's keep reading. Who's going to do this? It says, among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. So every place that you are in, you're an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword. That's a curse. That's Jacob's trouble. Let's go to verses 49 and 50. Let's talk about something real quick. It says in 49 right here, The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Now, we've done enough about the eagle these last few weeks, where there should be no doubt that the eagle is Rome. And there should be no doubt that when Rome came back from death, they came back as 10 different nations. That's the Roman Empire. And then we went on and showed you that the 10 nations, out of it came one more nation. It defeated 3 of the 10. Britain was Britain was defeated in the Revolutionary War. France was defeated in the French and Indian War, and Spain was defeated in the Spanish American War. And that's how America came about. And America is the little horn referred to in Daniel chapter 7. Okay? So let's keep reading. Verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. When they put us in slavery, they worked us till we died. They didn't care how old we were. Our children, they separate them from the mother before they were weaned. Mama had to go out there and work in that field. Mama had to breastfeed master's children and neglect her own. I'm telling you, that's Jacob's trouble. Let's go now to, let's go to Obadiah real quick. Let's go to Obadiah since we're talking about this eagle. Let's back up and see this again. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. So as fast as Rome or America could get to us, that's how fast they were going to get to us. As fast as the European nations were going to get to us, that's how swiftly they were going to get to us. From the coast of West Africa, they shipped us into Europe. From the coast of West Africa, they shipped us to the Americas. From the coast of the Americas, they shipped us to Europe. They took the indigenous people here that they didn't kill with plagues, and they shipped them over to Europe. All right, so the slave trade was going both directions. Let's go to Obadiah. Obadiah only has one chapter. And we're going to start off in verse 1. Obadiah is a prophet. Let's see what Obadiah says. The vision of Obadiah. It's not talking about his eyesight, saying he had a vision from the Lord. From the Lord. Thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. We know Esau's name was changed to Edom. So this vision is about Esau, or the people of Esau, the Edomites. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. What's happening? The heathen nations are being told to rise up and go to war against the nations of Edom. This is very important because I've been asked several times, are we as a people going to rise up here in America? I'm saying no. What we're going to do is we're going to keep the commandments. It's already prophesied how Edom's going to be destroyed. All we have to do is keep the commandments. The destruction is coming from Edom's own allies. Let's keep going. Let's go to verse number 4. Remember, we were talking about Deuteronomy 28, the eagle. It says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. Remember, this prophecy is against Edom. And it says that Edom exalts itself as the eagle. Remember I told you the 10 horns, they all have the eagle on their crest? Rome used to carry the eagle on their standard. America has the eagle as its national bird. It's even on the back of its currency. Let's keep reading. Let's go to verses 7 through 9. It says, all the men of thy confederacy, these are the allies of Edom or Esau, have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. See, America thinks it has friends and don't know one like America, and prevailed against thee. What's going to happen to America? The other nations, the heathen nations, are going to prevail against America. And they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Esau swears everybody loves them. Everybody wants to be an American. That's far from the truth. Verse 8. Shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom? Why? Because the Lord is making these nations rise up against Edom. And understanding out of the mount of Esau. See, Edom is Esau. Now watch this. And thy mighty men, O Teman. In the past, I've shown you that Teman is the grandson of Esau. Teman is the military arm of Esau, which would have been Greece, then later on Rome, and then later on Great Britain, then later on Spain, and then later on the US. Okay? Oh, and don't forget Portugal. Verse 9. And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. What's going to happen to every Edomite? Cut off by slaughter. Who's going to do it? The other nations, not us. See, we've been a peaceable people. With everything that's happened to us, other nations would have rised up. But see, we have a punishment and we have to fulfill that punishment. But our time is nearly up. That's what the purpose of this lesson has been. See, we've gone through the things that the church told you is waiting to happen. We're not waiting on Jacob's trouble to happen. It's already happened. The great awakening is before you now. So why is Esau going to be punished like he is? Verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob. It's what he's done to the Israelites. Still doing it, killing us in the streets. Let's read it again. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Esau does not get eternity. Esau does not get salvation. I want y'all to understand that. Let's go now to where do I want to go? Let's go back to Deuteronomy 28. Let's look at verses 64 and 65 real quick. Deuteronomy 28. Because I want y'all out of these churches. You got to get out of them. This is where our destruction is coming from. You got in your neighborhood, you got the church, and next to the church is the liquor store. You have better success in the liquor store than you do in a church. You can control how much you drink. You can't take on none of this foolishness coming out of the church. That's what Revelation 13 and 16 is talking about. All right, so let's read. It says, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people. Deuteronomy 28 and 64. So we're in every nation, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods. What are we going to do when we get scattered? What are we going to do after Rome destroys Jerusalem in 70 AD? It says we're going to be scattered and serve other gods. So look, whatever God you came here and served, that's not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The scriptures just showed you that. So consider yourself. If you came over here and you fell into Christianity, you have to realize something. Christianity was not the way that your forefathers walked. Once you realize you're an Israelite, you got to realize you can't fall into Christianity. Watch this. It says, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. What are these gods? Symbols, wood and stone. What do the Christians worship? They worship a cross. And you say, but I don't worship the cross, but it's your symbol. You see what I'm saying? And the cross is of wood. Well, what about the stone? Well, the stone is the Kaaba stone in Mecca, where they made us bow down and kiss it as they sold us into slavery. See, the cross was no different. The conquistadors made us bow down and kiss that cross. And if we didn't, we were beheaded. We were put between beasts and tied to both of them and pulled apart. Our pregnant women, they actually put rodents up inside of them and had them scratch babies out. They turned them upside down, cut their stomachs open, and let the dogs eat the babies off the ground, and had our people watching them, watching all this to put fear in them. See, we were born into being an Israelite. We were chosen by God. We didn't go around killing people to make them Israelites. You can't change your ethnicity. All right, verse 65. And among these nations, the nations we've been scattered to, shalt thou find no ease. What are they talking about? Be riding down the street around midnight, and that blue light come on behind you. You know what they're talking about. Neither shall the sole of thy feet have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have no assurance of thy life. You don't have any assurance of your life. Let's go here. Let's go here. Let's go to. Do I want to do that? Yes, I do. Let's go to verse 1 of Deuteronomy. So we've shown you Jacob's trouble. And what I want to do is assure you of God's deliverance through his son, Yahweh Shai. Let's look at verse 1. It says, and it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command you this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. Where are the Israelites going to be? Above all nations of the earth. And how do we get there? We've been given a roadmap. He said, keep the commandments. If we were to keep the commandments, let me see what that says. Obadiah, Shalom, King. If we were to keep the commandments, then we also get the blessings. Verse 2, and all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee. See, you can't run away from the blessings if you're keeping the commandments. They're going to overtake you. If you run it as fast as you can and you turn the corner, you can't get away from the blessing. If thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Let's go now to Deuteronomy 7 and 6. Watch this. If God is going to set you above all nations, then why are you fighting for equality? Stop fighting, fast and pray. Search the scriptures, find out what the commandments say, and do them. That's what you do. And then you rise above. You don't want to be equal to a heathen. Watch this. Verse 6. Deuteronomy chapter 7. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. You're not equal to anybody. You are the princes and the princesses of this world. You just got to walk in your goodness. You got to walk in your righteousness. See, these commandments of righteousness, you got to do them. Get away from those churches that are telling you not to do them. Let the dead bury their dead. Get away from your family members who are trying to keep you in those churches. Separate yourself. Verse 9, let's go. Know therefore that the Lord thy God, he is God, the faithful God, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. I want to read that one again. Know therefore that the Lord thy God, he is God. The Lord thy God, he is God. We're talking about the God of this Bible. If they're preaching another God from you, if they come from the New Testament and tell you this is a new God, that's not God your father knew. We believe in the whole book, but it's the same God, and he doesn't change. He's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. Now let's read this again. Know therefore that the Lord thy God, he is God, the faithful God, which keepeth covenant. He doesn't break covenant. And mercy. Oh, he's merciful, or else we'd be dead. with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. Let's go to verse 17. Watch this. We're talking about deliverance. If thou shalt say in thine heart, these nations are more than I, how can I dispossess them? Watch this. Thou shalt not be afraid of them, but shalt well remember what the Lord thy God did unto Pharaoh and unto all Egypt. So what he's telling you is don't be afraid. He set Pharaoh up to show his power. And he's coming back in this day to deliver us from modern day Egypt, modern captivity, modern enslavement. And he says, all you got to do is focus on what I did. I left it in writing for you. You didn't have to fight. He said, I followed behind you as a fire in the daytime. No, it was a pillar of smoke in the daytime and a fire at night. He said he stood between us and the Egyptian. And then when they thought they had us cornered at the Red Sea, he parted the Red Sea. And you see these movies and got water down there. No, it said we walked across dry land. He parted the Red Sea and we walked through. And then he allowed the Egyptian army to follow us. And when they got down into that water, he closed the sea upon them. That's our God. He fights for us. Those who keep his commandments, those who love him. Right? Let's go to verse 18. Did I read it? Yeah, we read it. All right, so let's go to Revelation. Tell you what, before we go to Revelation, I want to go to Second Ezra. No, let's go to Micah real quick. I'm going to go to Micah 4. Now, this is where we actually get our name, the iron horn of Zion. Now, I want to show you what it's about, okay? Let's go to Micah 4. Let's start in verse 7. I didn't go to 4. Type that in. My bad. We're not going to hold you much longer. All right, so I want to give you a time frame of when the Lord is talking about. And we're going to go from verse 7 to verses 10 through 13. So here we go. And I will make her that halted a remnant, and her that was cast far off a strong nation. See, he's talking about us. See, there's going to be a remnant of us that come out because the Bible talks about two parts are going to be cut off and only one part's going into the kingdom. So 2/3 of us are going to be destroyed because we would not cut loose from these wicked nations. We would not turn from these churches. We would not turn from these heathen ways. Okay. So it says, I will make her that halted a remnant, and her that was cast far off a strong nation. And the Lord shall reign over them in Mount Zion from henceforth, even forever. Okay. So we're talking about future now. Let's go down. Just want to establish that. Verse 10. Be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail. Isn't that what we started off reading in Jeremiah and then, what was it, Mark 13? For now shalt thou go forth out of the city, and thou shalt dwell in the field. So there came a time when we were overthrown in Jerusalem, and we had to come out and we worked in the fields for these slave masters. And thou shalt go even to Babylon. They brought us as far as America. There shalt thou be delivered. Where are we going to be delivered from? America. So when you read scripture say come out of her, it's not saying physically come out. It's talking about come out of the mindset. Come out of her culture. Stop doing evil. Turn back to the commandments. It says, thou shalt be delivered. There the Lord shall redeem thee from the hand of thine enemies. Where? Right here in America. Right here in Babylon. He's coming to get us. Let's go to let's keep reading. Let's go all the way to verse 13. So after we've been delivered and we get into our own land, what's going to happen? That's where Armageddon takes place. It says, now also many nations are gathered against thee that say, let her be defiled and let our eye look upon Zion. They're trying to attack us in our homeland. Verse 12, but they know not the thoughts of the Lord, neither understand they his counsel, for he shall gather them as the sheaves into the floor. See, they thought it was their idea to come there to attack us. No, the Most High is bringing them in one place so we don't have to go looking for them. He bringing them right there to Zion. Verse 13. Now, I want you to keep note of that word Zion because I told you this is where we got our name from, Iron Horn of Zion. It says, arise and thresh. What are we going to do when they surround Jerusalem? It says, we're going to arise and thresh. Remember, it talked about sheaves on the floor? So that's our threshing floor. Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make thine horn iron. What is it? The horn is going to be iron. We're the iron horn of Zion. And I will make thy hooves brass, and thou shalt beat in pieces many people. And I will consecrate their gain unto the Lord. We're going to take the spoils from their lands. And God's going to make it holy. He's going to accept it. And their substance unto the Lord of the whole earth. You see that? We're going to get their wealth. We're going to defeat them and take what's ours back. Let's go to Revelation. Let's go to Second Ezra real quick. We're going to finish in Revelation. Let's go to. Let me go ahead and stop sharing real quick. And we're going to go over to Second Ezra. Now, you might remember the story of Jacob and Esau when they were born, and Jacob held the heel of Esau, right? So Second Ezra chapter 6 explains that. So we're going to read Second Ezra 6, verses 8 and 9. It says in verse 8, and he said unto me, this is the Most High talking to Ezra. So Ezra said, the Most High said unto him, actually the angel was talking to him, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob and Esau were born of Isaac, Jacob's hand held first. Let me read that. Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. So Esau was born first, and Jacob came out holding on to his heel. For Esau is the end of the world. What is Esau? He's the end of this world. He's going to be the last nation ruling when this world comes to an end. So Esau is wrong, and America is wrong. All right? For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. But see, Jacob is not only the beginning, because we just read that forever we're going to reign. And we're going to hit Daniel 7 before we get done. Matter of fact, before we go to Revelation, we're going to hit Daniel 7 real quick. Real quick. So let's get out of this. We're going to read it real quick. You're going to have to go back and listen to the previous lessons to get the breakdown, okay? But I want to show you something. I think we're going to start in verse 7. All right. Here goes, verse 7. After this, I saw in the night visions, and this is Daniel talking, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse or different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So we broke down that this was Rome, and we showed you the nations that make up the 10 horns, okay? You have to go back and get that in previous episodes. Verse 8, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And I just told you, and in previous episodes, I told you that America had to defeat Great Britain, they had to defeat France, and they had to defeat Spain to become a nation. And those were 3 of the horns that made up the 10 horns that made up the Roman Empire. So let's read that again. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. Blasphemous is what this nation is. Watch this, verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. We got the pure wool of Israelites, of so-called African American or black folks. This is what our God looks like. Okay? His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels is burning fire. So they saw him on what is referred to in the ancient scriptures as a chariot, right? We know them as vehicles. The government calls them UFOs. See, it says a fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. I beheld them because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. The horn has spoken great words, the little horn, America, about how great they are. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. The beast was Rome. Of America's part of Rome. Okay. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. Now watch this. Verse 13. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man. We're seeing Christ right here in the scripture. Came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom. That's the Israelites. That all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom, that which shall not be destroyed. You see that? See, he's given a kingdom, but all nations have to worship him. And if they don't, oh, it says in Revelation that they won't even get rain. They had to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. I think, not Revelation, I think it's Ezekiel. Okay? So I wanted you to see that. Now we're going to go now to Revelation chapter 21, getting ready to close out. We're going to read verses 9 through 12, okay? I want you to see something. All right, let's get it. So this is John the Revelator talking. He says, and there came unto me one of the seven angels which had the seven vials full of the seven last plagues, and talked with me, saying, come hither, I will show thee the bride and the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates. See, the church told you that there was a pearly gate, and Peter stands at the gate, right? And then when they depicted it, it was a white man. But I just read in Daniel about one with hair like wool. I mean, it don't add up to me. You go to Revelation chapter 1, go down to verse 14, and it describes a black man with woolly hair. That's Christ. Let's keep reading. That's another day, another time. Verse 12. And had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels. You see the theme here? And names written thereon. So on these gates should be the names of the people who get into the kingdom. And there are 12 gates. So let's see who these people are. And let's start again in verse 12. And had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and the gate 12 angels. So we got bouncers on these gates. You ain't getting in if you ain't written. And names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. I mean, you can't get around it. From Genesis to Revelation, this book is about Israel. It shows our downfall. It has a story of our redemption. And these other nations think that they're getting in. Okay, then why haven't you suffered with us? Why do you think you get to get in without suffering? You get to rule here, and then you get to rule there too. It don't work that way. See, you've sinned. You've been in sin the whole time. It just showed you that you're going to be punished for what you did to the children of Israel. So how do you figure you're getting in? The only ones getting in, that's not us, are our servants. Other than that, if you keep reading on, you're going to find out what the other nations are going to be doing is they're going to be in a constant parade bringing their wealth to us. That's your role in the kingdom, to serve Israel. Hey, Shalom, Israel. I hope this was edifying. I want to assure you that the Lord has you on your mind and your deliverance is coming. But it comes by keeping the commandments. And the scriptures say, not by power, nor by might, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. You cannot keep the commandments without receiving the Spirit of God. So if you have not asked, ask the Lord for his spirit. Shalom.